Hey, hi, and hello. I'm Troy the Art Boy, and today I'm going to be designing yet another unconfirmed experiment from Lilo and Stitch, this series. I'm going to try doing something a little different here in this video. I usually go over a lengthy list of how Stitch's cousins are all organized, and I'm still going to do that here. But if you've seen that list before and you would rather skip it, then please jump to this time in the video. Adding a timestamp was such a good and easy idea, so thank you so much to the people who suggested it. I will give you a second to jump forward if you want to. Still here? Great. During the credits of Leroy and Stitch the movie, there is an official list of every experiment along with their name and their number. I defer to that list and work with my friend over on Instagram. Their account's name is Lilo's Library to brainstorm on the function and what their one true place might be given the namesake. I will say I don't just pull the functions out of nowhere. There's a general guideline for how Jumper's creations are all organized, and that list is as follows. Experiments 000 through 099, those are going to be the household helpers. They weren't designed to be particularly destructive in a way that some of the later cousins are. Next up are numbers 100 through 199. They were designed to be civic disturbances. Think loud, annoying, or just generally disrespectful to your peace. Numbers 200 through 299 are categorized as technological and scientific, like Sparky. 300 through 399 are psychological in nature. 400 through 499 are the militaristic experiments. 500 through 599, which are my personal favorites, are the elemental manipulators. And lastly, experiments 600 onward are the doomsday experiments. Given both the name and the number, I can get to work. Today's cousin is number 012, named Antitherm. In a previous video that I made for experiment 006, Percy, I was pretty straightforward about the many design aspects I pulled from an artist named Sketch Lampoon. He's an artist who many years ago worked on virtually the same project I'm currently pursuing with the very same person I'm currently working with. Many of their designs are absolutely brilliant, and although they stepped away from designing experiments, they still deserve much love for what they have accomplished. Today's drawing is yet another that is based on their work, and much more so than anything else I've done thus far. Here's their original Antitherm design. I wasn't sure really what to make of it at first glance, but I think it's like a little living jello-y guy. They're obviously super cute, and I knew I wanted to include them here. I did change a handful of design aspects to make them feel a tad more cohesive in this project's lineup. But I tried my best to still keep the vibe and the heart of this design intact. I really hope I was successful in doing so. I knew I needed to maintain that squishy feeling of them. I also decided to keep the segmented body. You can see how the purple in the arms, the legs, and the antenna don't fully connect to that of the torso, right? That is what I'm referring to. The dark circles on the tops of those antenna are also a great touch, not to mention the purple coloration that I knew I needed to keep. Oh, and the cylindrical arms, um, they look like little hoses. I also wanted to keep those as well. So what did I change? Well, for starters, I removed the tail. I think it works better for the original design than the new one. On mine, the tail looked too bulky and it wasn't very streamlined. I love the antenna so much here that I even added two more. It really balances things out, especially with the tail being removed. I knew I wanted to add flair, and I think that helps a lot. Otherwise, this design would look a little bland or boring, and I knew that was not going to be an option here. The outline for this experiment was, of course, the first thing I did. It took me maybe 30 minutes, pretty straightforward. The smaller detail work, however, that took some brainstorming. For all these experiments, I have to draw them in motion too, and in different poses. Put simply, I didn't know what Antitherm would look like from the side or the back with those floating segments in their body. Would they stretch out? Do they move around? Then I realized those separated segments could very well have not have been separated at all. They may have just looked that way because of some choices made while adding highlights. Then something clicked, and I decided to turn Antitherm into a living lava lamp. The router's skin would be something of a clear pouch that holds within it a gooey, shape changing substance. In some ways, this is cheating on my part. If I make them a lava lamp, I don't really have to worry about keeping the internal design consistent because by definition, it would always be changing. Cool, right? Speaking of cool and hot, I guess, the person I'm working with for this project wanted Antitherm to be able to change the temperature in a small enclosed space. This is where those arms come into play. Their body would absorb some of the air around them and convert it into either a cool breeze or a miniature heat wave. They would do so by absorbing it through their skin and into an empty chamber inside of their body, then shoot that air out of those little holes at the end of their arms. I picture Antitherm being sweet and joyous at times, but make no mistake, they have quite the attitude on them too. Oh, and they can fly. Or, I don't know, I guess hover. I just wanted to make them sort of levitate at will, like Experiment 276, Remy. They're weird through and through, and I hope that comes across here. Before I get into the portion of the video where I talk about the episode synopsis and Antitherm's one true place, I thought it would be fun instead to mention some of the unique and honestly surprising struggles I found with developing this iteration of Antitherm, along with a dozen or so other cousins I have currently based on designs, in part or in full, of that of other artists. First and foremost, this project of designing each and every one of Jumba's unconfirmed experiments started out as a couple of random art commissions. Leo's Library saw my work, and being a giant fan of Lilo and Stitch, they wanted me to make them their very own couple of experiments. A simple two-person team. Then this project was floated to me, and of course, I was immediately on board, but at the time, it was still just the two of us. Since then, we've begun picking up steam a bit, and we realized that this would be a fun project to try reaching out and including other Lilo and Stitch fan artists in. I will gladly dedicate entire videos and posts to each of these artists when the cousins we collaborated on are released. Today, that artist is Sketch Lampoon. They gave us permission to use their designs and to rework older designs as well. All he asked was that he was credited. I bring that up because I don't want anyone to think that either Lilo's Library or I would ever just use another artist's designs without first talking to them, then getting the go ahead. Okay, so back to what I was going to say about the surprising struggles. It's actually much harder to come up with backstories for things I didn't invent. In a way, the whole process sort of works in reverse this way. I normally start off with a concept for a function or maybe a storyline for an experiment. Then I try designing something to represent those earlier ideas. In this case, we needed to base a story off of a little alien that I wasn't familiar with. And given the design, I was even further limited by their function because I wanted to keep those aspects unchanged. So those design flares needed to correlate with the story and the function. And again, I had no input on the design itself. Even though it's harder to do, I will say it's always a great exercise in creativity. It forces both me and Lilo Zarbre to get creative and work within a relatively strict framework. The second struggle I've run into, and this one is more of a moral issue than the last one, is trying to translate someone else's work into the style of the rest of the experiments in this project without either changing key aspects of the design that the original artist loved or without completely redesigning it. It's important to me that the original artist and their fans immediately recognize the new drawing as what it is, a reinterpretation rather than a replacement. Okay, and here it is. Experiment 012 Antitherm is a thermal manipulator. They were designed to alter the temperature within confined spaces, and they do so by either heating up or cooling air around them within their hollow body, then ejecting that air from the openings at the ends of their arms. They are very limited as to how much they can either heat or cool a given space, though, as they can only affect it by plus or minus 12 degrees Fahrenheit. They were invented to essentially be Jumba's own personal heater and AC unit. Their episode is titled Cooling Comfort, and the episode synopsis reads as follows. The Birds of Paradise Hotel, a luxurious resort on the island known for its temperamental air conditioning system, is in need of solution to keep its guests comfortable. With guests beginning to complain and the hotel's reputation at risk, Lilo, Stitch, and the Ohana must work together to fix the issue, meanwhile, capturing a newly activated temperature altering experiment before it's too late. Obviously, this hotel ends up being where our little buddy Antitherm finds his one true place. If you enjoyed this video, or honestly, even if you didn't, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm still very new to the whole YouTube thing, and it really helps out. I've also recently started a Patreon if you wanted to go support me over there. I currently have one subscriber, which I love and appreciate them for. You'll get early access to some of my other videos, as well as discounts on everything over on my Etsy. I know I've already mentioned them a bunch in this video, but if you have a minute, I really can't recommend enough checking out Leo Zabre over on Instagram. A bunch of my other designs have already been uploaded there, along with just so much more. And of course, check out Sketch Lampoon's artwork over on DeviantArt. And thank you so much for watching. You will see me in the next one. Bye.